A cult is a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister, and typically, cults are recruiting people to join them with messages of something better out there. But once you get hooked and decide to join, they use methods to keep you within the cult, and any ideas of leaving? Out. Hi most amazing fam, my name is Abby, and today I'm sharing with you top 10 scary cults that brainwash their members. Now, before we get into the scary, I must remind you that we have a contest going on. So you could win a signed Most Amazing hoodie and $100. All you have to do to enter is mosey on over to our Facebook page, like our Facebook page, and like and comment on our most recent video. The title is Spice It Up, and in it, Che and I are eating some spicy things and doing some spicy dares. It's nice and light compared to the darker topics in this here video. Now, I have to give a warning that these are scary cults that brainwash their members, not any nice cults. With that being said, please keep in mind that I'll be touching very sensitive subjects. Starting us off at number 10 is the Order of the Solar Temple. The Order of the Solar Temple was founded by Frenchmen Luc Jouret and Joseph de Marboreau. It was founded in the late 70s or early 80s. It began in Geneva, Switzerland, but spread to have a branch in Quebec, Canada. It was a secretive cult that ended with a mass murder-suicide in both countries, with 53 people ending up dead overall. A former member, Herman Delorme, told the CBC 25 years ago that the cult offered an intense sense of belonging and closeness. If you pursued it, at one point what he caused the danger point is where you started feeling that you were different than other people. He said members lose touch with reality, and he said he doesn't know how far it can go and described himself as one of the lucky ones that got out. In his case, he was arrested and taken out of it after being caught trying to get illegal firearms for one of the cult leaders. He didn't talk about his initiation, but he did say he was initiated, meaning there was a process to get him into it. At number 9, we have Heaven's Gate. So this cult was started in the mid-70s by Bonnie Lou Truesdale Nettles and Marshall Herff Applewhite. This is the one that ended with a mass suicide where 39 people died believing they were exiting their human vessels and beaming up to an extraterrestrial piloted spaceship that was zipping along in the blue ion tail of the comet Hale-Bopp. Now, the bodies were found with each in the exact same outfit with a buzz cut and exactly $5.75 in their pockets. Now, while members of Heaven's Gate said they made up their own minds in a video before this big mass suicide, many doubt this to be true. There are scholars who studied the cult and they saw the dedication as largely the result of a sustained, calculated, and ruthless program of psychological coercion. Members of Heaven's Gate had to cut themselves off from their families and keep minute-by-minute schedules. Academics said this was to undermine individuals' identities, leaving them to ignore misgivings and do the group's bidding no matter how irrational. So, all in all, it was pretty much textbook brainwashing or coercion. On to number 8, we have Charles Manson and the Manson family. In the summer of 1969, Charles Manson convinced his band of followers to kill 9 people in the LA area. He was known to prey on people's weaknesses to get followers to trust him. The youngest member of the Manson family told investigators that she and others were brainwashed with sex, LSD, constant Bible readings, rambling lectures about revolution, and the continuous playing of the Beatles' White Album. Manson was also known to use acid trips and long, hypnotic, repetitive lectures to get his followers on the same page as him. Now, the lectures would outline his plan to start a race war that would lead to his world domination. Now, this plan was called Helter Skelter, inspired by the Beatles song. He also separated his followers from others as they all lived on a secluded movie set named Spawn Ranch. Isolation helps keep people distanced from reality. At number 7 is Children of God. This cult was formed in 1968 by David Brandberg and arrived in Argentina in 1973. It was exposed as a pedophilic cult that preyed on its younger members. A former member of this cult said brainwashing was often used to keep the members in line. They were educated within the sect to try to normalize the sexual advances on the younger members. She said, "Everything is obedience, one doesn't count as an individual, everything is God." She also said, if you betray the sect, God condemns you. And those are heavy words to keep people in line that led to the mass sexual assault in this cult. At number 6 is the branch Davidians. So this cult had a military standoff with police and it was an insular religious community. It undoubtedly brainwashed its members. It was formed in 1930 by Victor Houteff and the infamous David Koresh joined in 1981. Under Koresh's leadership, a therapist that worked with the child survivors of the cult said the children lived in a misguided paramilitary community. The New York Times wrote in 1996 that for sins as small as spilling milk, the children were struck with a wooden paddle known as the helper. To train them for the final battle, they were instructed to fight each other, and if they did not fight hard enough, they were paddled for that too. Koresh also told them to call their parents dogs, and this was since he was the one they should be referring to as father. Also, girls as young as 11 were given a plastic Star of David, signifying that they had the light and were ready to bear a child with the cult leader. Up at number 5 is Scientology. So people are lured into this cult for the answers that leaders say they know are true. When someone is going through through a time in their lives with a lot of uncertainty, they can be vulnerable to fall into these trappings. Now, Scientology brainwashes through 3 different phases. First, they get followers to gradually adopt new language and commit more time to Scientology. They call those outside Scientology WOG as a derogatory term and use other lingo to start separating these new followers from the outside world. In the second phase, the followers have a confessional, where they say all the secrets of their entire lifetime. Then they record every wrong deed, real or imagined, committed in this and in any previous lifetimes as a part of the ethics process. Then, for the third phase, the new Scientologist assumes a new identity and worldview. This new worldview being that they belong to the cult and all other allegiances are severed. Next, at number 4 is NXIVM. Keith Raniere co-founded NXIVM in the 90s as a self-help organization. Today, it's known as the sex cult that branded its members. Raniere manipulated the members by undermining their moral beliefs and convincing them to follow his mandates. Straying from his teachings was seen as hearsay, and anyone who seemed to be second-guessing was condemned by the other followers. People were instructed to reject instincts and social conventions. For instance, if you think that being a part of a cult is weird, then Raniere would say something like, "That's just what society is telling you," as a way to trick you. At number 3 is the Ripper Crew. So the Ripper Crew was a satanic cult and organized crime group. It was led by Robert Getcht, who convinced his 3 followers to help him with the murders of 18 women. He had convinced them that he had supernatural powers, or at least so they said. They claimed to police that he could make them do anything he wanted, including murder and torture. What they did do with him was mutilate women as a satanic sacrifice and eat parts of her body in Gecht's attic. People didn't even suspect Gecht, as he had a wife and 3 kids and was seen quite normal. But a light should have gone off somewhere because his boss at work was the John Wayne Gacy. Just how do you not? But let's go on to number 2, the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which I will be calling FLDS for short. So, in its basic definition, FLDS is a high-demand, high-control, destructive cult. Among other things, it teaches and practices polygamy, breaks up families and marriages, and has engaged in arranged and forced marriages. It is a divergent sect of Mormonism that forced women into multiple wifehood with men of all ages. Now, members were convinced marriages were what they were supposed to do and went along with orders by leaders. They had unwavering devotion to their lifestyle and were socialized to do so. A cult information specialist named Joe Simhart said that within their self-sealing belief system, they see themselves apart from the rest of the world and elitist and think that everything outside is evil. So that just turns them away from anything else and keeps them in their belief system. But let's move on to number 1, the People's Temple, known for the Jonestown Massacre. Jim Jones had his own community in Guyana, South America. But how was he able to indoctrinate all of his followers? Over 900 people died because of his ability to convince the crowd to drink a mixture of Flavor Aid and cyanide. And well, initially Jones was able to draw in many followers with his ideas of social progress in regards to race. He lured in people who hoped for a community that saw past racial differences and didn't have racial discrimination. But he didn't want people to be able to leave the community. He said that anyone who left was fair game. Now, there were even rumors that people who questioned him or tried to leave had been taken care of. One man who talked about leaving the church was mysteriously crushed between 2 railroad cars, and another member who Jones said had negative thoughts was killed driving her car. And those are big punishments for someone who just wants to change who they're gonna follow. But that's all I have for today. Maybe go see some pictures of puppies after that little heavy video. But that was top 10 scary cults that brainwash their members, and let me know what you think down below. And while you're down there, make sure to give a like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications, and tell us whatever else you want to see. Also, if you do know of any other cults, be sure to let me know, because have you heard of Jared's cult over on Inform Overload? I heard it's in there. Whack. But until next time, I'm Abby, and don't join a cult. Bye!